Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. In today's video I'm going to talk about 4 scents from the brand of Fragrance World that are very underrated and not too many people have actually talked about them. Those 4 scents have a few things in common. First of all, all of them pretty much have a very unique scent profile, not something that you're going to smell every day. The second thing that they have in common is the fact that all of them have a very nice quality, and the third thing that they have in common is the fact that all of them offer at least good performance. And one other thing that I forgot to mention about all 4 fragrances that they have in common is the fact that all 4 are inspired by niche scents that I have not tried. Now the first one that I'm going to talk about is called Saffron Elixir, and the fragrance comes packaged in this black and white colored box. It actually is sold under the brand of French Avenue, which is a sub-brand of Fragrance World. It's an EDP concentration, 100 ml bottle size, and in case anyone is interested, the production date on this bottle is February of 2024. And then this is how the actual bottle looks, and I think this is very similar to the original fragrance that this is being inspired by. The original fragrance that this has been inspired by is called Crystal Saffron, and it comes from the brand of Matière Première. So the name is also pretty similar apart from the bottle design. And now, a few words about the scent of this fragrance. As I said in the beginning of the video, all four fragrances that I'm going to talk about today have a pretty unique scent profile. And Saffron Elixir actually might be the most unique one out of the 4. As you can see, the sprayer is pretty decent, and as the name would suggest, this fragrance is mainly about the note of saffron. This is pretty much the main note in this fragrance. The fragrance opens up with a heavy blast of this saffron note that's accompanied by quite a strong note of musk as well. I get lots of ambroxan out of this fragrance, and on the dry down you're introduced to a bit of ambery sweetness, a suede leather, at least my nose picks up a suede leather, and maybe a hint of sort of a smoky note as well. It's a pretty unique scent profile, and I cannot say that I've smelled many things that actually are similar to this one, but and also, as I said, I've not tried the original fragrance that this has been inspired by. But a few things that this actually reminds me a little bit are: the first one that actually is the most reminiscent when I smell Saffron Elixir will be Ganymede. This feels like very similar to Ganymede, type of a fragrance. Because of the suede leather, because of the saffron, it gives this sort of mineralic vibes that are pretty similar to Ganymede, although Ganymede feels quite different, but this is the closest thing to Saffron Elixir that I have smelled. Also, another fragrance that this sort of reminds me a little bit will be Baccarat Rouge 540, but without the the amount of sweetness that the Baccarat Rouge fragrance actually has. This is like a lot less sweet version of a Baccarat Rouge. Those are the 2 famous fragrances that I have tried and that are in a way similar to Saffron Elixir. Performance wise, this is quite a good fragrance. I've been getting about 8 hours of performance out of it, with pretty strong projection in the first about hour and a half up to 2 hours. Price wise, I paid about 35 euros to get this one, which is a bit more on the expensive side when it comes to inspired by or clone fragrances, but again you get a pretty nice quality in return. And versatility wise, this is a perfectly unisex fragrance. The next one that I'm going to talk about is called Warwood Boys Darab, and this apparently is inspired by Widian or One Widian. I'm not too sure how the name of the original fragrance is pronounced, and also I've not tried the original fragrance. This one again is sold under the FA Paris brand. The bottle size here again is 100 milliliters, and the concentration again is EDP, and the bottle I think is pretty much similar to what you get with the original fragrance that this has been inspired by. The sprayer here is also good, as you can see. And this is another very unique scent. It's quite a spicy fragrance, especially in the opening. There's a nice amount of cardamom, a nice amount of cinnamon note. There's a bit of ambery sweetness in the opening. This is also quite an woodsy fragrance that has a nice amount of incense in it as well, a hint of a green touch, and on the dry down you're introduced to quite a bit of a musky quite a bit of a strong musky note as well. The dry down is woody, musky and ambery sweet. I pick up quite a bit of ambery sweetness. It's a very warm, spicy and woody type of fragrance that again is pretty unique and actually quite enjoyable. Again, I've not tried the original fragrance, so I cannot compare how close this is to the original fragrance, but performance wise, and also this is not similar to anything that I've tried. Performance wise, this is another pretty good performer. I'll be getting about 7.5 hours of performance out of it, with moderate projection in the first about hour and a half. Price wise, again around about the €35 mark, which makes it a little bit more expensive than your average cologne fragrance. And versatility wise, this is another perfectly unisex scent. Moving on to the next fragrance, which is called Dark As Ood, and this one is inspired by Bois d'Armenia from Guerlain. Again, another original fragrance that I have not tried, but Dark As Ood comes packaged in this sort of a brownish colored box. This one is sold under the brand of Fragrance World. Again, here the bottle size is 100 milliliters, the concentration is EDP, the production date here is May of 2023. And once you take out the bottle, this is how the bottle looks. I think it's pretty similar to the the original fragrance. Again, you have a very nice sprayer with this one, and this is actually a little bit more enjoyable compared to the first two that I showed you earlier in this video. This is a fragrance that opens up quite spicy. There's a nice amount of pink pepper note in here. There's quite a bit of ambery sweetness with this one. There's a nice amount of an iris note, which feels like a slightly powdery but not sweet, and sort of a cold type of iris note that's pretty different to what you get with something like Dior Homme Intense, for example. It's still powdery but doesn't feel sweet or makeupy like you get with for example something like Dior Homme Intense. Also, there's quite a bit of ambery sweetness with this one, again especially on the dry down. It's a very interesting, quite an unique fragrance that is warm but at the same time feel kind of cold. It's warm because of the woodsy notes that this one has, but at the same time the sweetness that this fragrance has feels kind of cold in a way. I don't know if you exactly get what I'm saying, but this is the feel that I get out of this fragrance. It's quite an unique fragrance, quite an unique scent, and I've been actually quite enjoying Dark As Oud. Performance wise, this is a pretty good performing fragrance. I'll be getting 8 hours, maybe even over 8 hours of performance out of it. Projection is not super strong, more on the moderate side, but still it will project nicely for about an hour and a half. Price wise, a little bit cheaper, around about the €30 mark, and versatility wise, this is another perfectly unisex fragrance. And the last fragrance that I'm going to talk about in today's video is called Vanilla So Sweet, and this once again has been inspired by a Guerlain fragrance that's called Spirituous Double Vanille. Again, I have not tried the original fragrance, so I cannot tell you how close this one is to the original, but again, let's quickly go over the packaging. A white colored box that again has it's sold under the Fragrance World brand. The bottle size again 100 milliliters, concentration EDP. Production date here is November of 2023, and the bottle is actually very similar to the Dark As Oud bottle, although this is comes in a lighter color. And again, I've not tried the original fragrance, so I cannot tell you how close it is, but I can tell you that I've been really enjoying Vanilla So Sweet. Another great sprayer. And oh man, this is a very nice scent, actually, my most favorite one out of the bunch by far. As the name would suggest, this fragrance is all about the vanilla note. It opens up with a blast of vanilla, a hint of spiciness, there's a hint of incense in here as well. This feels a bit green somewhere in the background, maybe a hint of a rose note, maybe something like a jasmine note. There are some woodsy notes like cedar oud, but again, it's all about the vanilla and the benzoin as well, which just adds more sweetness to the mix. It's a very sweet fragrance that's heavily based on the note of vanilla, and I really like vanilla based fragrances. Again, I've not tried the original fragrance, so I cannot tell you how close it is, but I can tell you that this also feels pretty similar to something like a Mercedes-Benz Club Black, which is another very heavily relying on the vanilla note fragrance that I absolutely love. And Vanilla So Sweet actually feels pretty similar to that one as well. Performance wise, about 7.5 hours, I would say. Moderate projection in the first hour and a half, all around decent performance. Price wise, again around about the 30 euro mark, and versatility wise, this is another perfectly unisex fragrance. And at the end, a few final words about the 4 fragrances that I talked about in today's video. Saffron Elixir is a very unique fragrance that relies heavily on the notes of incense, saffron as the name would suggest, with some sweat leather as well. It's a very unique scent profile, a very unique scent that actually is, at least in my mind, very reminiscent to something like Ganymede, and also feels like a fragrance that's pretty similar to Baccarat Rouge 540, but minus all the sweetness that you get out of Baccarat Rouge. In my opinion, if you like Ganymede, then Saffron Elixir will probably end up being liked by you as well. The next one, Wurood Boys Darab. Again, a pretty unique scent profile. This one is woodsy, is spicy with lots of cardamom and cinnamon spiciness, feels a bit green, a bit smoky, has some ambery sweetness. All around a very interesting fragrance that initially I didn't like very much when I tried it for the first time, but over the past 2 months or so, this has actually grown a little bit on me. Perfectly unisex, but again, when it comes to this one, I would say sample it first before you actually buy it, in my opinion, because I don't think it's a very blind buy friendly. The next one, Dark As Ood. This is another very interesting and unique fragrance that feels very woody, has a touch, a floral touch, an interesting sort of an iris note in here that feels powdery but doesn't feel sweet, and makeupy. Has quite a bit of ambery sweetness, but it's all about the woodsy notes with this one. Again, another unique scent that's perfectly unisex, but again, in my opinion, I would advise you to try this one before you actually buy it, but I actually quite enjoy it. And the last one, of course, Vanilla So Sweet, which turned out to be my most favorite out of the bunch. This is a fragrance that's absolutely fantastic for those of you who like vanilla based fragrance. Very, very similar to something like Mercedes Club Black. And also, actually, I forgot to mention something. I also pick up a nice amount of a boozy note in this fragrance. So it's a very sweet fragrance with lots of vanilla sweetness, a bit of booziness, a bit of spiciness, a bit of incense in here. All around, a very, very nicely done sweet vanilla-based fragrance. And people who like vanilla fragrances will definitely enjoy this one. And this is my most favorite out of the bunch. So guys, in today's video I tried to quickly show you 4 fragrances from the brand of Fragrance World that in my opinion offer very unique scent profiles, offer very good quality, offer very decent performance, and are quite underrated in my opinion. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.